Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome in Oudenaarde. It's one of the most beautiful days of the year. It's the Tour of Flanders, and it's a pretty nice day. It's a little bit clouded, but the sun's trying to come out. It's not very cold. It's about 16 degrees out here. We've had some showers earlier this morning, but the roads are dry at the moment for the Tour of Flanders for women. We've got 142 women on the start line here in Oudenaarde, and they are about to start one of the hardest finals in racing with iconic climbs like Paterberg and Kwaremond, Taaienberg. Well, we're going to see all of them later on, but first we're going to see some footage of the team presentations this morning from 10 to 11 on the Market Square here in Oudenaarde. This is the honour list with, of course, that magnificent solo by Anna van der Breggen last year. Corinne Rivera, she is unfortunately already out of the race after a crash, so she will not be one of the possibly 3 riders who are going to have a second win in Flanders. But we've got 4 other former winners on the start list. Of course, Rochelle and I will be talking about that a little bit later. This is the UCI World Tour ranking with Marta Bastianelli just 10 points ahead of Kirsten Wild. Both riders are on the start line. Marianne Vos is a third, but she's already 115 points behind. But the winner gets 200 points in this race. So there is a possibility that Vos takes over the lead, but at the moment it looks to go between Wild and Bastianelli. Team presentation this morning, some funny bits here by the Belgian Lotto Soudal team with a fantastic Lotte Kopecky. She's been on great form recently. There she is, the track rider. She's had a lot of top 5 finishes, and she has been 5th before in Flanders a few years back. And with her current form, of course, she wants to try to emulate that result later today. Alex Cipollini with Chloe Hosking, among others. Of course, Japanese superstar Eri Yonamine and Chloe Hosking. She doesn't particularly look forward to the addition of the Taaienberg. This is Elisa Balsamo, and you can see on her chin she had a little bit of an accident yesterday on the recon, and unfortunately she had to abandon. She's got 9 stitches in her chin. The lovely ladies of Movistar, 2 French ladies, 4 Spanish ladies, with of course the French national champion Haute Bianic. And these are the bikes being checked by the UCI commissaires, the Valka bikes in this case. Kirsten Wild, yeah, she won the 2 most recent World Tour races, the Panne and Gent-Wevelgem last week, chaperoned by the magnificent Lisa Brennau. She feels good. She doesn't really want to tell me that she's back on top 4, but she's a very, very important rider. And together, Wild and Brennau are a very dangerous duo later on if they stay together in the final. But if Wild is going to be there in the final, chances are pretty big that Marta Bastianelli will be there as well. And it's a long finishing straight here, so it might as well be a small bunched sprint. Alena Amialusik, the champion from Belarus, also had to abandon. She's been on the deck twice already. We've had some crashes a little bit later. We're going to talk about that. But this is a nice team as well. Corinne Rivera 2 years ago, thankfully, thanks to Ellen van Dijk, who brought her back. She won this race, but like I said before, the American champion crashed and had to abandon. But Lucinda Brandt, she was 3rd on Wednesday in Dwars door Vlaanderen, so maybe they've got more cards to play at Sunweb. And then, of course, Poels Dolmans with an interesting addition to the team, because Jolien Dore, a mere 3 weeks after her crash in Drenthe, where she broke her collarbone, is back here. Of course, she didn't want to miss this Belgian party, being the former Belgian champion and the biggest rider in Belgium. This is a strong team with Blaak, Diederiksen, Pieters, Jip van der Bos, Jolien Dore and Christine Majerus. Another former winner there, Elisa Longo-Borghini, and another former winner, and then I think we've seen them all. Annemiek van Vleuten, she won back in 2011 when everybody was looking at her teammate then, Marianne Vos, and she just pipped Antoshina on the line. Marianne Vos, I said, yeah, she's also a former winner, and she's been on grand form so far, winning Trofeo Binda. Of course, that was an uphill sprint in Citilio. This is more of a flat sprint. The winner of Dwars door Vlaanderen, Ellen van Dijk, from the Trek Segafredo team. She's been a former winner here as well, doing a long solo, just struggling and fighting her way over the Kwaremond and Paterberg, but winning this in grand fashion. Shortly before 11 o'clock in Oudenaarde, where the city caller is ringing his bell, indicating that the race is on. It's a very, very long race today. 159 kilometers plus 8 kilometers of neutral, making it 168 almost for the 142 riders.
start met de voetgraven.
The parcours, I said 159 kilometers. It's really, 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 really far, because the maximum for women's World Tour racing is 160, so they're only 800 meters short of that maximum. We've got some cobbles in the beginning and then some cobbled climbs, which are the worst of them all, with, of course, the Muur, and now coming up Canarieberg, Taaienberg, the combination of Kruisberg and Houton, the place where Anna van der Breggen attacked last year, and then the horrible, horrible duo of Oude Kwaremond and Paterberg. And when we're on Paterberg, we're about 13k out from the finish line. These are some recorded images of the Muur, which we did about, 5 minutes back. And Rochelle Gilmore, welcome.
Welcome. Yes, a very exciting day today.
How hard is this? You've been doing this before.
Yes, I've done this. I've raced it. I've ridden over it many times, and it is a real killer. There's a section in the middle there that we just saw that is just so steep, and just being on the cobbles and trying to keep momentum. You can see the riders had already raced quite a distance before they'd hit the camel, so they're tired legs, and you can just see that it's actually quite tough just to get up the climb, and anyone that's had the experience of riding it will know that in a race situation you've already got tired legs. So here's some pictures of the peloton, so you can get a little bit of an idea of which riders are feeling okay. We now see Amy Peters at the front, which is a good sign because we've seen her down the back not looking so good earlier on in the race today.
And she's the rider that I called for today, Rochelle, so I hope I did not jinx her.
Well, she's at the front when it counts, when it comes to the climb, so she's giving herself every opportunity, and that's the thing about this race. Positioning is so important. You've got to be able to climb and descend and ride a crosswind, and all of the aspects of being a good cyclist come into one play here at the Ronde van Vlaanderen. So you have to have a lot of all-round skills to be at the finish of this race, and positioning is very important. Amy Peters, your pick for the day, Jose, so let's see in the end. She's at the front now for the Boel Stolmans team.
Yeah, we're 5 races in and we haven't had a winner for Boel Stolmans just yet. If we look back at the World Tour, Annemiek van Vleuten did it for Mitchelton Scott in Strade Bianche, Bastianelli for Virtue in Drenthe, Vos for CCC Liv in Binda, and then twice Kirsten Wild for WNT Rotor. So do you think there's a little bit of stress already at the Boel Stolmans team? They are, of course, the super team of women's racing, and they haven't had a World Tour win just yet.
Absolutely. I mean, they've dominated the last couple of seasons in fine style. Every race that they went into, they were able to control, and they come into Ronde van Vlaanderen without having a race win at a World Tour level. So it must be very frustrating. I'm sure the pressure's on. They've already lost one of their strong riders in Jip van den Bos earlier in the race today, a very heavy crash. So she has good form, so it's disappointing for them. So that'll be playing on their minds as well. And what we've seen in the past with this race is how important it is to have numbers towards the end of the race.
Yeah, you had some interesting statistics about that.
Yeah, the last 5 years, 4 times we've had the winner on the podium with a teammate also on the podium. So that just goes to show that your chances of winning this race are really obviously a lot higher if you come into the last 20 or 30 kilometres with 2 of your teammates at least. And as I said, we've seen the past winners, 4 out of the 5 past years, 2 from the same team on the podium. So at the Tour of Flanders, it's so important to have strength in numbers at the end of the bike race.
I'm going to give some credit to the riders who are on the attack. They started this attack about 45 kilometers back. Italians, French and Dutch riders. This is Sanguinetti, Chanella Stauchen for the high-tech team. We've got Séverine Hérault for the Dolcini Van Eyck team, the smaller Belgian team. Former world champion Séverine Hérault. Kylie Waterreus for Healthmate. Sanguinetti for Volcar, and trying to come back are 2 riders. For Servetto, it's Xenia Dobrinina. She was already on the attack in Dwars door Vlaanderen on Wednesday. And also coming back for B-Pink is the Italian veteran, with all due respect, Silvia Falsecchi. This means we are 1 rider short. The break was originally composed of 7 riders, and the 7th rider was the young Giulia Marchesini for the Italian Romitalia Bascio Vaiano team. So she got dropped on the Muur, but these girls, they still have a lead of 1:42 on the peloton. But Rochelle, if we look at the course, there's still some pretty horrible things to come.
Absolutely. It's not such a handy lead at this point of the race, but they did go out to 3 minutes 30. And these riders, I mean, every rider dreams of winning Ronde van Vlaanderen. It's one of the biggest one-day races. apart from the World Championships and the Olympics, that's the race that riders want to say they have won in their career. It's so these riders are just taking their chance, and I think the longer distances has allowed an early breakaway to go out a little bit further than it would if it was a shorter race. But today the peloton very relaxed to let this group go. No really big names there. Silvia Valsecchi, probably the most experienced at 36 years of age, and she has been struggling off and on the back, but just pacing herself, and she's a strong time trial rider. But they'll just ride now as hard as they can. You can see they're already quite tired, so the race is really back in the main peloton.
Well, we're 100k in.
Yeah, and as you said earlier, it is on the longer side for women's racing, with the limit being 160 kilometres. They're racing 159 plus the 8 kilometres neutral that you mentioned, which makes it so important because a lot of riders don't race over these distances. And to be honest, I don't think many of the athletes in the peloton train so often over 160 kilometres. So very much on the long side, which means they need to fuel themselves really well today. That's very important.
We have the image of Giulia Marchesini, who was in the break originally, now being caught by the peloton. Some nice presence there by the CCC Lift team, by the two tall Dutch women, Evie Kuipers, Shana Corva. Evie told me a very interesting story this morning. She rode this race once before, and though she didn't ride the entire course, she did finish, because well, she was out of the race and well, skipped the Quaremont, for example, but tried to make her way back to Oudenaarde following the arrows, and then she crossed the finish line still with her transponder on the bike, and she got classified despite not having done the entire race. But she was pretty excited. She is the Dutch non-elite champion. So they race a combined Dutch championships with riders who have a contract with an elite team and riders who don't. And because of that performance that she did last June, she got a contract with Marianne Vos's team, which is doing pretty well, and it's very well suited for these kind of races, being so tall and being so strong.
Well, it's really exciting to see Marianne Vos in top form again and really talking up this Tour of Flanders. She wants it so much. One of the former winners that is in this race, so she can make history along with Judith Arndt and Miriam Melkers, both two riders in the past who have won twice Ronde van Vlaanderen. And Marianne Vos, I mean, if she did that today, it would be something really, really special. And one of the most experienced riders in the peloton, and experience goes a long way in a race like this.
Yeah, she won it back in 2013, Marianne Vos, the Tour of Flanders, and that was a time that Marianne Vos basically won everything, all World Tour races, and this in 2013 was the one race that she was missing on her impressive list of results, and she won it in 2013, and 6 years on she is still well on top form, or back on top form, because of course she's been out with injury, being overreached, which meant that her body just did not recover anymore. She could do the training, but her body would not recover from that. It's called overreaching, and it took her a long time. It took her a long time mentally as well to get over that, because if you have been a cyclist all of your life and all of a sudden you cannot ride anymore, then you have to find out, who am I without the bike? And that was a struggle that Marianne Vos has been quite open about, that was kind of a mental struggle for her. But she learned to listen to her body pretty well now. It's the same thing that former cyclocross world champion Talita de Jong struggles with. And she listened, she learned that lesson, and she's now back. And it's really good to see, because we had this discussion last week, Rochelle, in Gent-Wevelgem, that riders in their 30s are doing fantastic at the moment.
Something I find very special about Marianne Vos is she's won nearly every single race you could dream of winning, but as she gets older, obviously you learn more about your body, and you get that experience of how much you can deal with training and your workload and everything like that, managing injuries and illnesses. But Marianne Vos is just so passionate about cycling. She loves it so much. So if your body can allow you to go to I think a higher level, you know, from your 30s to your 40s, but Marianne Vos also has that passion, and that's what sometimes is missing with riders that are in elite sport for a long time. But Marianne Vos is something very special. She's got so much talent, and she still absolutely loves every aspect of cycling. So I think on current form, the only person in this peloton that may be stronger than her physically might be Annemiek van Vleuten,
who is 4 or 5 years her senior.
Yeah. So
yeah, Van Vleuten, she only came into the sport age 24, 25. So the career of Van Vleuten is only, what, 12 years? She started football and then having some trouble with her knees, started picking up cycling. And if you look at the statistics of Annemiek van Vleuten, those are the most impressive of the entire peloton here, because she finished 8 times in the top 10. And she won this race 8 years ago in 2011, when she was still, in the early stages of her career. So if you look at the statistics, she's impressive.
Absolutely. So the favourites that are on the start line today, we have Annemiek van Vleuten, riding for Mitchelton Scott, the Australian team. Probably a standout in terms of condition, current condition. Marianne Vos really wants to win this. She's got some strong support in Ashley Moolman-Passio. Other potential winners, former winner Elisa Longo-Borghini. She has the strength of Ellen van Dijk, or perhaps the other way around. The duo works really, really well together. So Boels Dolmans, Amy Peters, Chantal Black, that duo there. Lisa Brennauer and Kirsten Wild from the
Another duo.
Another duo.
You said before, Rochelle, it's important to have a teammate in the final, and you're just mentioning some very dangerous duos. If you look at Van Dijk and Longo-Borghini, the Trek Segafredo duo, there was some fear this morning at the start when I spoke to some riders that Trek Segafredo was going to try a two-pronged attack. If Van Dijk didn't get away, they're going to try Longo-Borghini. And Van Dijk tried, and she tried pretty early in Vlaanderen on Wednesday, 16k out from the finish line, and she went full time trial mode. And I think she might try that again today. And if there's one other rider who can go full time trial mode from the Paterberg, it's Annemiek van Vleuten.
Yeah, and then one other rider that doesn't have a really strong duo that could win today is Marta Bastianelli. She's in the form of her life. She really is in good condition. She's been out training a couple of days ago over these bergs, just flying over them. She rides for the Virtue team. The owner, Bjarne Rees, is here today. He's in the car, so that will give that added motivation or added pressure. It could go either way, having the big boss following in the car. So that little move we just saw from the FDJ rider was Shara Gillow from Australia, just pushing the pace there. They've still got to catch that breakaway. 2 minutes ahead of them, but as we said, a lot of really hard racing to come just yet.
It's a very interesting place to attack, or just to up the tempo, because we just passed the feed zone, and we're now going towards one of the other provinces in Belgium. We basically ride through Eastern Flanders, which is a province, Oost-Vlaanderen, and then just one little detour through the French-speaking part of Belgium, Henegouwen, Hainaut. There's not a lot happening there if you look at the course, and especially at this place, they try to force something, which I find remarkable.
Well, the thing is that it's the climbs are the scary part for a lot of riders, that they focus and concentrate so much on it. But we've seen so many times in the Ronde van Vlaanderen, the move of the day is normally made between the climbs, over the top, on the descents, in those moments where everybody's like, okay, I ticked that box, I got over that, and they relax, and then bang, one of the attacks goes, and that can be often the one that sticks. So in this race, especially from now until the finish, the riders can't really afford to hesitate. We were speaking earlier about Emma Johansson, one of the world's best cyclists in her time and never won the Tour of Flanders. And she said the reason was she was too concerned about the other riders and who was going to chase, and that she needed to race a little bit more on instinct. So I think from this part of the race, they've already raced a long distance, but they need to be so focused mentally and race a little bit on instinct when the moment's right, and not let the wrong combinations go up. There was a little crash at the feed there.
Touching wheels. Well, somebody touched Chantal Black's rear wheel, looked like one of the Movistar riders. And this is a very interesting. All the way at the front of your screen on the right, you see a rider who was part of the very first Tour of Flanders back in 2004. Look at this Movistar team. It looked like a little mishap in the feed zone. Of course, those bags, they can be quite dangerous getting in your wheel. And here we see again, she's looking. And then she touched wheels. Oh, it's pretty amazing that Black stayed upright. That was Sheila Gutierrez, who got a top 5 in the Tour of Flanders race on Wednesday. And this is her teammate, Roxane Fournier, the French rider, who's a pretty good sprinter as well. So this is not good for Movistar.
Yeah, Gutierrez from Movistar would have been one of the outside chances I had on my list today, but for number 1, Chantal Black, she got a pretty hard hit to the rear derailleur there, which is something that can cost you the race. She held very steady, and she didn't wobble at all, but her rear derailleur did get a hit from that front wheel of the Movistar rider, so let's hope her bike is okay. No doubt she'll be putting her hand up to get some checking and assistance from the team car. So you can see at this point in the race, it is the point in the race where they have no categorised obstacles, and they relax a little bit, they take their feed, but it can be in moments like this where a break goes away.
Trixie Worrack, who is at the front here, was part of the very, very first Tour of Flanders, a whopping 15 years back in 2004. And it was the year 2004 that Zubirova won, and Trixie Worrack got second. 15 years on, she's still here. That's just one amazing bike rider.
The small rider in the middle of the screen there from Trek Segafredo, Trixie Worrack. I would nearly go as far as saying she is the most experienced rider in this peloton, and she's a fantastic team leader and team captain. She's come back from injury where she had a very bad crash and actually lost a kidney from having a bit graphic, a stomach cut. So
that was actually one of the 2 times that she missed a race, because she crashed in Trofeo Binda in March and missed the Tour of Flanders in 2016. And the other Tour of Flanders she missed was 2008. So she's been a part of this peloton now for 14 Tour of Flanderses.
Well, you can see she's doing her job as she always does there, just protecting Elisa Longo Borghini, one of your former winners that's in top condition as well, will be wanting to try and win again for the second time. But she also has teammate Ellen van Dijk who could potentially win here. We're looking at the WNT riders all lined out there. They have Kirsten Wild and Lisa Brennauer. And the Belgian champion also sitting comfortably in there. We see Lotte Lepisto, the Finnish champion. Can she make it to the finish as a sprinter? That's the big question. How hard are they going to race the final of this year's Ronde van Vlaanderen? They're a little bit scared that it's a bit tougher in the final than it has been in the past, because they've thrown in a couple more climbs, significantly the Tayenberg. Difficult climb, and that's what's worrying everybody, the combination.
Bobbles and climbs.
And there's not much time to recover between that the next 4 climbs that come up.
Now, this is the thing about Lepisto. Why is she riding all the way at the front, her head in the wind again? It's a thing that she's been doing for years and years, and she should by now have a little bit more faith in her sprint.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if she's actually saving anything for the sprint today, or if she's purely on domestique roll for her teammates. We saw that she's just having a look around there at the front of the peloton. So we're seeing a moment in the race here where we said there's no categorised obstacles, climbs or anything like that, but they are approaching a very difficult 4 climbs coming up. La Houppe comes up first, which is not a categorised climb, but I can tell you from experience a couple of days ago that it is quite significant, especially at this point of the race. And the Canarieberg, the Tayenberg, and another uncategorised climb, which is cobbled, the Steenbeekdruis. So there's quite a few consecutive climbs there.
And it's also the part of the race where we are now that we have to factor in. If you look, for example, at a race like Dwars door Vlaanderen, which would have finished by now, that was 110 kilometers on Wednesday. And now we still have got an entire final to play. So Sunweb coming to the front. Of course, they already lost their sprinter, Corin Rivera, but Corin has not been on her best this year. What is the reason, you think, that she just had a near miss all the time?
Phenomenal season in 2017, the year that she won the Ronde van Vlaanderen, and she, for a lot of people, she came out of nowhere. But she had already won over 20 US national championships, but she came over to Europe in 2017 and absolutely took the peloton by storm. She won the Tour of Flanders and a lot of other races in that year. Then she struggled in 2018 just mentally with the expectations of her team, and that can happen after a very strong year. Obviously, rising to the top so quickly, she said she struggled through 2018, just trying to find her feet now in 2019, but had a pretty disappointing start to the season, a lot of setbacks and crashes, and today already crashed out of the race, so that was quite disappointing. We've had a few riders already drop out of today's race, but it is a race that things just happen. It's full on, it's very close racing, very technical roads, right and lefts, narrow roads, so you do need to be focused.
We saw a little glimpse there of Jeroen Doren, just like I said in my intro, a mere 3 weeks after her horrid crash in the Acht van Westerveld, which is the race before the Ronde van Drenthe. And she was riding the Vanberg, which is the man-made landfill climb in the north of the Netherlands. She was actually picked up by the wind, which was a horrible wind force, gale force winds. She was picked up and smashed back on the tarmac, and she broke her collarbone. 3 weeks later, she's back here, and she said one of the reasons that she is riding is that she knows these roads and that she can be of use to her teammates because of her knowledge of the course.
Well, the peloton, this is the lead break that we're seeing again here. 1 minute 34 in front of the peloton. No big favourites in this breakaway, but they are working well together and they want to try and stay away as long as possible. I don't think the peloton has underestimated any of these riders. I think it will come back together, but 1 minute and 28 seconds advantage for these lead riders.
Bottle here for Chanella Stauchje by the female sports director at High-Tech, Torne Lima, also a former rider herself. Chanella Stauchje is still a pretty young rider, just like her compatriot from the Healthmate team, Kylie Waterreus. Both riders who were, well, top junior riders back in the day when they were riding in the Netherlands, and they both have had a little bit of trouble making that step up to the elite level. Kylie Waterreus still under 23, she's still pretty young. She hopes to make that step here, riding for this Belgian team, getting the chances to ride World Tour races. But Rochelle, what makes it so incredibly hard for top junior riders when they come into the elite ranks?
Well, the distances for one, I guess the increasing distances in women's cycling these days is a real challenge for the younger riders, but the size of the peloton, and I think the aggressiveness, positioning in pelotons, it's a different game to in the junior ranks, so it just takes a little while to get used to, you know, and know the riders to follow and where to be, because if you're behind the wrong wheels, especially in a race like this, it's very difficult. Which leads us back to just seeing High-Tech products with the car there. In women's cycling, there's only one follow car, which means that if your lead rider is back in the peloton, which has obviously probably the best chances, not in the breakaway, but the team cars have to be up behind the breakaway, which leaves the lead riders in the peloton without support vehicles. So it is a race that you could win or lose simply due to a crash, a mishap, punches, and even getting feeding is very difficult on a race like this. So one team car per team here at the Ronde van Vlaanderen in women's cycling.
Which is weird because men's team are only one men bigger.
Yeah.
They ride with 7 riders and women ride with 6. We saw that Dutch woman Chanella Stauchje was swinging her arm just a little bit. She had surgery on both of her shoulders in most recent years, which also explains a little bit that she has not reached that top level just yet. So it's really great for her and the small Norwegian team of High-Tech that she's part of this breakaway. And the funny thing is, Rochelle, since the distances are now longer, the racing is now also starting to mimic the men's racing, with a big breakaway up the road for a large portion of the race.
Yeah, definitely because of today's distance being a little bit longer, they've let this breakaway go out and they're very relaxed about it. The peloton seem to have it completely under control, and I kind of like the dynamics of the shorter races. Oh, we see a crash. It's a Trek Segafredo rider. This could be a major one.
Looks like Ellen van Dijk.
This is going to be a massive blow for the Trek Segafredo team. One of the favourites.
Is it? No, it's Cordon Rago.
Cordon Rago, so a very important domestique for the team. This is not good. She's been in fine form and she would have been a major player coming into these consecutive climbs. So very disappointing for the Trek Segafredo team.
She actually won that race that I was talking about where Jolien Dore was picked up by the wind. It was her first win in years. She's been on great form. She's a very happy rider. And there she went with, I think it's former Canadian champion Lea Kirchmann from the Sunweb team, who was also part of this crash on this traffic island. And there is a marshal there, but are they crashing into the marshal maybe? Let's see what happens here.
It's interesting, it just looked like she lost a bit of traction on the front wheel there. We only saw the replay once, but that would be, you can see Trek Segafredo on the right of your screen now. That's Lotte Lepisto with Trixie Warwick behind her, Elisa Longo Borghini.
The tall rider for the Mitchelton Scott team is Dutch rider Monique Tenneglo. And she is one of the chaperones for Annemiek van Vleuten, winner of Strade Bianchi. Roger Mackay also at the front there in the Sunweb jersey, the red jersey. Leanne Lippert, the German champion from the Sunweb team as well. Most big teams are now moving forward. Of course, the Trek Segafredo team have heard about the crash of Cordon Rago, but it looks pretty obvious to me that the team are definitely not playing the card of Lotte Lepisto for a sprint, because she's working at the moment at the front.
And they've got Ruth Winder in there as well, always tucked in behind Elisa Longo Borghini, and then On the other side of the peloton is Alan van Dijk. So they've got all 5 riders without Audrey Cordon-Rago at the front. Interestingly, we just saw at the front of the peloton, and we've seen it a couple of times already today, the WNT team of Kirsten Wild and Lisa Brennauer. Kirsten Wild looks very, very comfortable. The winner of the last 2 World Tour races.
Do you think that she can make it 3 in a row?
Well, it would be amazing. She's been on the podium so many times here at the Ronde van Vlaanderen, and she's talked down her chances today, and it would be great to see her pay Lisa Brennauer back by supporting her right until the finish. But Kirsten Wild, I mean, we've seen on the former winners, Ina Yoko Tutenberg, who's the director for Trek Segafredo today, she has won this race, so why not Kirsten Wild? I think she's got the potential. She said she's very tired after a long track season where she won 2 World Championships again in 2019, already this year, 2 World Tour races. She's feeling really deserving of an up-and-coming break.
Which she will do after the Healthy Aging Tour, which race tactics. 1:07 for the riders as we enter the province of Henegouwen, or Hainaut as they say in French, because this is a French-speaking province. As you might know, Belgium is a country where they have 2 languages, basically 3, because at the eastern part of the country there's a small part where they have German as their official language. But we're now entering the French-speaking part of the country, which is, if you look at the map, the south. Big point of discussion in Belgium, and of course, being the nation's capital, it's bilingual. But the racing is mostly purely a Flemish thing. If you look at the peloton, there's hardly any riders from the French-speaking part of Belgium, Wallonie, both in the men's and the women's peloton, because the racing it's a Flemish thing, just like cyclocross is a Flemish thing.
Just getting a look at all the teams now moving to the front. Mitchelton Scott working very hard, always at the front of the peloton. They've got one of the strongest, or the strongest at the moment, rider in the race in Annemiek van Vleuten. But what about the chances for Amanda Spratt? I personally think this course is very, very well suited to Amanda Spratt. She's got the condition. We saw a tweet from Amanda Spratt saying she was heading to Belgium to support the team, and I thought that might have been a little bit maybe trying to throw people off.
A bit cautious maybe?
Because I think she should get the support of Annemiek van Vleuten today. She's tirelessly worked for Annemiek. Last year we saw her at the Giro d'Italia, and she's in the form to potentially win this race. So I think it would be great to see Annemiek van Vleuten support Amanda Spratt and see what she can do with a bit of team support. Gracie Elvin also been on the podium here at Ronde van Vlaanderen, so a strong team. They've got the experience there, and they could be one of the main players at the end of this race.
If you look at the results of Amanda Spratt, her best result was 3 years ago, 2016, when she was 15th. So we're going to wait and see what happens there. This is a little bit of a problem for Silvia Falsecchi. She is one of the riders of the Italian team pursuit team, where she is, of course, the most experienced rider, riding alongside Elisa Balsamo, Letizia Paternoster, for example, who was 3rd last week. She's not here this week, but she got an amazing 3rd place last week in Gent-Wevelgem, one of those up-and-coming riders from Italy.
Interesting to see how they're panned across the road here. It's one of those sections that are not categorised climbs, but it can be where we will see the peloton come across, and maybe they can do some damage and split this up. So team directors sitting back in the car are often watching the live stream of this, and if they can see that the breakaway is breaking up here, they know it could be a great point to actually upset the peloton.
Is this the kind of knowledge that also gets across to the team managers? Of course, it's on live television, also in Belgium, so people can watch this in the team car. So a lot of team managers will see an opportunity here to try to make it a hard race and split the peloton a little bit.
Absolutely, and it's quite often now that they put the director in the passenger seat and have a different driver, just so the director can have communication from people outside of the race, and the mechanic's always looking at the live stream.
So our breakaway is now down to 5 riders. Former junior time trial champion Séverine Hérault is leading the pack at the moment. You can see that some teams are coming to the front. Boels Dolmans here with their 3 national champions. They see the opportunity and they're now getting to these open parts. Also Bigla are making their way up to the front. Trek Segafredo, everybody sees that this is a dangerous part, that there might be an opportunity here to split the pack. This is prime territory for echelons.
Yeah, I think we could see some action quite soon. Like we said, a lot of riders are anticipating the approach to these 4 consecutive climbs coming up, but this could be a moment where the team takes advantage of riders just staying a little bit relaxed. All the big teams together at the front. Boels Dolman on your right of your screen, you've got Trek Segafredo, Annemiek van Vleuten just there on the left, trying to move up. One of your big favourites for today.
Bastianelli on her wheel. And also the Park Hotel Valkenburg team with in 3rd position Sophie de Vuist. She's been on grand form so far, had a top 10 as well in Dwars door Vlaanderen. 2 years ago she had a horrific accident. She broke her pelvis, she broke ribs, she was in a very, very bad state. But she made a recovery. Oof, another crash happening here. One of the riders for the WNT Rotor team. It's the Spanish rider Sant Esteban. She was called up because Claudia Koster crashed last week. Looks like Julie Lett is also there. 195 for the Tipco. For the Aromitalia team is Balducci. Got a top 10 place last week in Gent-Wevelgem. Getting a wheel from former pro rider Simona Antonini. And here's some problems with one of the Bigla riders. Can't see her face nor her number, but it looks like Julie Lett. Trouble here for 194, Letizia Borghesi. It looks like she has to get a spare bike because race goes on.
Oh, this is interesting. LA Cipollini's Chloe Hosking doing domestique duties at the front of the peloton. She's obviously made a call that she won't be looking after herself to see how far she can go into today's race. So racing in a support role, which is for me a little bit sad because I would have loved to see how far Chloe could go into this race, and if there's any chance on that long run into the finish where little groups can come back. Chloe Hosking. Mitchell and Scott, they often ride aggressive like this, and as we said, with the strongest riders and Amanda Spratt, they will want to make of those sprinters like Marta Bastianelli, Kirsten Wild, she'll be hanging on as well. And here's the breakaway. They're still doing it tough out there, 53 seconds, but they've had a long time out there in the wind just sharing the work around.
Let's mention their names again because they're doing a very valiant effort today. Sanguinetti, Séverine Hérault, Kylie Waterreus, Chanella Stauchje and Xenia Dobrinina was also in the breakaway on Wednesday in Dwars door Vlaanderen, 3-woman breakaway back then. So she's showing again. This is Falzecchi being caught by the peloton, led by Julia Soek, the Sunweb team, followed by Kirchmann, Lucinda Brandt, Lippert. Those are the riders for Sunweb. There is Kirsten Wild also at the front of the race as we pass through the feed zone for the men's race. So it's not the feed zone for the women's race. We're 50k out, which means that we are approaching the final 5 climbs, starting with Canarieberg. And if you look at the Canarieberg, it's 1,000 meter, starts in about 4k out, 14% maximum and 7.7 average. So that is why the peloton is getting nervous at the moment, because we're approaching Canarieberg, and just before that there's another uncategorized climb, Rochelle.
Yeah, La Houppe. It's one that they haven't categorised, but it certainly is a little leg stinger. So not cobbled, but it comes just before the Canarieberg, and the other one that they've not categorised comes after the Teenberg, which is the Steenbikprijs, which is making that two uncategorised climbs amongst this little consecutive difficult section of these 4 climbs. Chloe Hosking doing an amazing job for her teammates, just keeping them at the front, out of trouble. And you can see on the right of your screen again, Mitchelton, Scott, they've got it all together. They've done this many times. But
who is Chloe Hosking working for?
Well, LA Cipollini will have a couple of cards to play, see how far they can get their riders to the finish.
Paladin has been on great form, the Italian rider.
As I said, it would have been great to see how far Chloe could have gone, but your favourite for the day, Amy Peters, at the front as well. So is she on domestique duties? She's got right behind her Amelie Diedrichsen from Boels Dolmans.
All the way at the left of the peloton, trying to make her way to the front, the European champion. She lost a little bit of room there, but she's fighting her way back. The thing is, Rochelle, I suddenly realised that she's not wearing that purple leaders jersey for the UCI Women's World Tour.
Yeah, the youth classification for the Women's World Tour has been a little bit confusing. Different reports on the internet on how the point system works, so perhaps they're just trying to...
But I'm talking about Bastianelli. She's the leader in the UCI Women's Tour. She should be wearing that purple jersey. And I think she's wearing the European Champions jersey.
Yeah, I've seen that also in the European Champion.
Interesting.
Very interesting. So she is the leader of the World Tour. She's not wearing that purple magenta Women's World Tour jersey. That may have had something to do with sizing, or... It's a very interesting one, actually. But Marta Bastianelli wearing the European Champions jersey today is actually the leader of the Women's World Tour.
She might even get fined for that. The leader on the youth ranking, to which you referenced, is not here, Lorena Wiebes. She is racing the Healthy Aging Tour, and she was racing the Volta Limburg Classic yesterday, won by Demi Vollering. Maybe you remember her. She was on the attack in Trofeo Binda from the Park Hotel Valkenburg team. Yeah, racing is on, and the leaders are almost caught. There's Bastianelli with her teammates, and it's game on, Rochelle.
This is often the case in Tour of Flanders, where the race is actually to the bottom of the climbs, and you can see how all of the trains of the best riders have wanted to get their lead riders into the front and into position before they come onto these climbs.
There we go.
Just had word that Lisa Brenneman may have been involved in a crash, which means Kirsten Wild, pressure is on her shoulders for the team today, but they've already won the last 2 World Tour races with Kirsten Wild, so she'll just see how far she can go into this race, and hopefully Lisa Brenneman will make it back to the peloton.
Yeah, we've been discussing that Kirsten Wild is pretty tired. The contrary for her teammate in the Madison at the World Championships, Amy Peters, who's been telling me this morning that she still feels really good, and yet she's going on to race the Ardennes and maybe even Yorkshire. So she still feels really well, and then she takes a week off.
Well, this is the first race of the season where the really big hitters will have a peak. Obviously, they've got the Ardennes Classic, but Ronde van Vlaanderen is a race that is just the Tour of Flanders. It's a one-day race that means so much. When you have the Ardennes Classics, you've got Amstel. Oh, here we have an attack now from a Canyon Tram rider.
Cromwell. Tiffany Cromwell?
Yeah, Tiffany Cromwell, always racing aggressively, wanting to set this up for teammates. Elena Cecchini, the Italian, will be their rider of the day, but Tiffany Cromwell, she always has a go, and she knows this race. She's been racing it for years, and she loves it. She thrives on the atmosphere, and she's just a racer.
This is Christina Siegard, former winner of Omloop het Nieuwsblad, struggling at the back. And many riders will struggle now. We're 115k into this race, which is a normal distance for 1.1 racing, which is the second category of racing. So it shows how hard this race is. At the front, we see Amanda Spratt looking very, very focused. She was very focused this morning as well. Just a tad nervous as well before the start. And she was also very excited, just like Gracie Elvin.
Well, this is an exciting move from Tiffany Cromwell, and this is what we love to see. It's been a few years since we've seen Tiffany Cromwell on the attack in the final parts of the race, but she knows this race well. She's obviously been looking after herself until this point. This would have been planned for the lead riders, Tiffany Cromwell, just to do that attack, and you can see the great atmosphere there, and as I said, that's what Tiffany really thrives on, and it brings the best out in her.
I remember a fantastic Grand Prix de Plouay in Brittany where she raced against Lucinda Brandt. Lucinda Brandt won it in the end, but Tiffany Cromwell raced a fantastic race back then. I think it was 4 or 5 years back. She's always a very attractive rider to watch.
A very exciting rider to watch, and she must be in great condition, because to be able to ride away from a peloton with that many strong riders, she looks over her shoulder there, she knows she's got a little bit of a break, but this is a pretty tough climb. Also, the legs will be burning at this point. She'll want to get over this climb and then just get into a bit of a rhythm.
This is one of those typical after climbs that you have in Flanders, that you think that you reach the top of the climb and then another climb comes. You said exciting rider. That's the same thing that I mentioned. That's what I meant saying attractive. But as you might know, I'm not a native speaker, so I did not refer to the way that Tiffany Cromwell looks. I referred to the way that she races. So got that out of the way, Michelle. Sometimes there's little tiny nuance differences in the way you use words.
Well, you can see this is the part of the climb where you think it's finished, and actually yesterday I was riding this course with Johan Museo, and I attacked him about here. Then I saw, oh, it's not finished, the climb continues. So a very tough part, but Tiffany Cromwell just getting over the top there.
And then she goes all the way to the back of the bunch, so that attack may have been timed not to perfection, to say the least.
Trek Segafredo and Mitchelton Scott. Look how comfortable Amanda Spratt looks there in second wheel. Trek Segafredo, they've got Elisa Longo Borghini and Ellen Van Dyke to finish the race off.
Ruth Winder, by the way.
Ruth Winder as well, yeah, on the front there doing the job. So Mitchelton Scott, Annemiek van Vleuten and Amanda Spratt. They've also got Gracie Alban, and then the CC Live team have got Ashley Moolman-Passio and Marianne Vos.
How important has the South African champion been so far? She was 4th here last year, and you wouldn't think, because she's so small and so light, being a climber. Of course, she was on the podium in the Giro. How important is Ashley Moolman to Marianne Vos?
Very, very important. It was a great signing for Marianne Vos to bring across Ashley Moolman-Passio, because they're a fantastic duo together. And while she's very petite and she looks like a climber, she's got great bike handling skills and a little punchy kick on her as well. So Ashley Moolman will be so, I think, valuable to Marianne Vos today. And I think the two big favourites today would normally be Annemiek van Vleuten and Marianne Vos. But Amanda Spratt for Mitchelton Scott could also be the leader. So it's those teams we said that have that duo that'll have the strongest chance. And Trek Segafredo have got the duo as well. Bowles Dolmans will have Chantal Black in there. We can just see at the front of your screen now, Chantal Black and Amy Peters is that magic duo for the Bowles Dolmans team.
Yeah, they're trying to up the pace here as we move towards the next climb. And that is going to be Taaienberg. And yeah, things are starting to heat up here just a little bit. The Swedish champion, Emilia Fahlin, and also French champion, the Austrian champion. All sorts of national champions coming to the front now.
Well, Amy Peters looked like she was trying to protect Chantal Black there, so that might give us a clear indication that Chantal Black would be the protected rider for Bowles Dolmans.
Of course, she can ride a great race. She finished top 10 5 times already, Chantal Black, the Dutch national champion, and of course former world champion in Bergen, Norway.
And here comes Elena Cecchini, the Italian, that Tiffany Cromwell would have been throwing that attack out there just to support her, and Emilia Fahlin still in there. So the Swedish champion with the blue and the yellow stripe of the Swedish national champion's jersey. She's an outside chance for today. She's got a nice little sprint on her as well, and she's in good condition. And you can see the peloton has really dwindled down, so it has been a race of attrition as we hit these final climbs.
Yeah, the final climbs are coming up now. We're going towards the 7th hill of the day, which is Taaienberg. It's a new addition to the course. Last year we skipped the Taaienberg, and now we're going to do that, and then immediately after that a very fast descent, and about 10 kilometers respite before we hit the Kruisberg.
See some rider off the edge there and some help. That's Ashley Moolman-Passio. That's the teammate of Marianne Vos, who we were just talking about, the South African. So Marianne Vos will need her to get back into that group for the support in the end of the race.
But the heat is on at the moment, the pace is up, so that makes it really, really difficult for Ashley Moolman to come back. And because the peloton is split in so many different groups, the team cars will be further back because they will not be allowed to race or to ride directly after this peloton, directly behind this peloton, which makes it more difficult for Ashley Moolman to get that new wheel.
Yeah, if you have a mechanical at this point, it's very difficult to get a quick service. That's why having teammates and strength in numbers, as we said in the peloton, is so crucial and important in this part of the race, because if you can't get your team car servicing you directly, you need to be able to rely on a teammate. So numbers are so important at this point of the race.
You see some great riders at the front here. Amanda Spratt really, really focused and controlling here. Lotte Kopecky, the rider for the Belgian Lotto Soudal team, is there as well. Chantal Blaak, Amy Pieters, Annemiek van Vleuten. All the big names are here when we are approaching the Taaienberg. Let's see where Chloe Hoskin is, because she said this morning that she was dreading this climb just a little bit. But it looks like she's still there in the peloton. Lucinda Brandt through the middle, Iriona Mine, one of the teammates of Chloe Hoskin, the Japanese champion, and Marta Bastianelli looking so good there at the right side of the road. Remember last week, Rochelle, on the Camelberg, she was just throwing away those punches. She was so incredibly good. And then I thought, when she was riding the Camelberg, it's like, just take it easy, just rely on your sprint. But she was so much expressing how strong she was.
And I don't know if it was intentional. She just has such good form at the moment that she wants to push on the legs. She wants to have a hard race. She said many times in the last few weeks that she gets nervous with the big bunches coming to the finish. She wants to have a small peloton arrive at the finish. And she is one of the fastest sprinters in the peloton, so she can win from nearly any combination of riders into the finish. So she wants to make it as hard as possible. But this is an impressive ride to this point from Lotte Kopecky, a former world champion in the Madison with Jolien Dorda, and now they hit the cobbles.
Yeah, Kopecky, she was 5th back in 2017, had to sit out the edition last year because of an injury, but with her current form she is really thriving. She was 5th in Drenthe, she was of course 3rd in the Panne, she was 5th last week in Gent-Wevelgem. So Lotte Kopecky is on fire, taking that form from riding all winter on the track, taking that also that how do you call that she can just increase the tempo. She has that punch that she takes from the track, takes it here in the Flemish Ardennes.
She's looking very comfortable and at home on the cobbles. Amy Pieters just driving it there. We said she'll be riding for Chantal Blaak. Amanda Spratt looking very comfortable with Annemiek van Vleuten tucked in behind. Elisa Longo-Borghini is there as well.
Floortje Mackay, Lucinda Brandt, the 2 Sunweb riders, Marta Bastianelli, Jonna Mine, and the struggle at the back for one of the Tipco riders, Lauren Stevens here with number 105. 164 is a rider from Kazakhstan, Umut Sanova. Thankfully I got that out right. But at the front, all the big hitters are here. Where is Marianne Vos? Do we see that orange helmet and those rainbow bands on the arm? We see Avi Kuipers, her teammate, so Marianne Vos should not be far. Let's see if we can see the former world champion. Looks like Amy Pieters is struggling a little bit.
Well, she's been on the front of this peloton on this climb, and you can see on the cobbles it really does show which riders are feeling comfortable and which ones are struggling and wrestling a little bit with their bike to keep that momentum and contact with the road. We haven't talked about tyre pressures yet, but that is so important at the Tour of Flanders. We've had reports of teams riding as low as 4 bars in their tyres, so you know, back in the day when I raced, there wasn't that much knowledge amongst the teams and the mechanics and things like that. So they were riding, you know, we were riding 6 and 7 bars. Now they're down to, you know, as low as 4 bars. So the pressure very low. And you can see the riders that are comfortable, they would have done a lot of work to their bike and been out there testing it. Dry weather today, so a lot of riders very well tuned with their bikes. There's Amy Pieters on the front with Chantal Blaak just behind. So that'll be, it looks to me like Chantal Blaak is the leader for the Boels-Dolmans team. Very impressive climb there from Lotte Kopecky. Marta Bastianelli looked comfortable in there as well. And Sarah
Elvin and Sarah Roy on the left side of your screen trying to get a bottle, in which she succeeds. Gets an energy gel. We've got about an hour left of racing, a little bit over the hour, because we've got so many climbs still to do. think we've got 1 hour and 10 minutes left to race 41 kilometers. Talking about tire pressure, that's the kind of thing that they figure out when they do the recon. CCC Live, they went on a training ride, on a recon ride a few days back, just before the Tour of Flanders, and that's what they use to decide what kind of wheels are we going to use, what kind of tire pressure are we going to use, and they did not want to share that knowledge with us.
Yeah, I was speaking to one of the mechanics that said he was spending all day 2 days ago changing the tyres to tubeless, so they weren't riding tubular, they were riding the tubeless, and they actually inject the compound into the tubeless tyre, and now we're seeing some attacking in this descent. It could be Elisa Longo Borghini from the Trek Segafredo team just taking advantage of her descending skills.
Awfully early, 40k out, but she did it 35 kilometers out when she won this race a few years back. Well, and everybody thought she was crazy.
It's also just a matter of making it harder for the other riders because it's comes so natural and easy to her to get through the corners and attack on a descent. It may have even been Trixie Warwick, but we'll get a little bit of a closer look at who that rider was that attacked on the descent.
Well, it's sure going to hurt the rest of the peloton. We are 120 kilometers into this race. 40k still to go with climbs like the duo of Kruisberg-Hoton, the Oude Kwaremond and Paterberg. You know, that horrible, very short 400 meter long cobbled climb, which peaks at 20%. 20%.
Well, the Paterberg is one of my favourite climbs in the Tour of Flanders, in the Flanders region. It's very steep and cobbled, but short, and you can see the top. Whereas the Camelberg, it's a very, very tough one. The Oude Kwaremond for me is just way too long. But these riders, I mean, the thing that makes Tour of Flanders so special is this year, the organisers have done a fantastic job to put all of the main climbs, and even in the same order in many cases as the men's race, so they've got all the crowds and spectators and the atmosphere. Lotte Kopecky of Lotto, she looks very comfortable today. On the front, Sarah Roy doing the job for Amanda Spratt and Annemiek van Vleuten in the crucial parts of the race.
It would be fantastic for Belgium if Lotte Kopecky can win this Tour of Flanders. Only one Belgian winner in the past, in 2010, Grace Verbeke, and well, while the Belgians are pretty dominant in the men's racing, they are not in the women's racing. And it's just because there's not a lot of young Belgian riders racing, so they not ride against each other, they do not make each other better like they do, for example, with the big numbers of riders back in the Netherlands. So it's a big difference between the men's racing and the women's racing when it comes to being dominant on the world stage. But if Lotte Kopecky manages to do that, she will do a huge favour to racing, to women's racing in Belgium, because she will be a huge inspiration to young riders in this country.
Well, if a sprinter like Lotte Kopecky can get to the finish, you would think that Marta Bastianelli and also Kirsten Wild could make it to the finish. So in my opinion, the last three climbs are just too hard, especially those last two, for the sprinters to come back. But they do have that 13-kilometre flat run into the finish. If the wind picks up and they have a bit of a headwind, you could see a little sprint group come back. But
it's what happened when Rivera won it.
Yeah.
When Anna van Dijk brought back that group after the Paterberg and got her teammate Rivera into winning position. Let's see if we can spot Kirsten Wild in this group, because Marta Bastianelli is definitely there, and we see one of the WNT rotor riders at the back of the bunch, two of them, so hopefully those are Lisa Brennauer and Kirsten Wild. And a big group trying to come back. We have a little bit of a lull now in the parcours, because it will take us another 12 kilometers before we get to the next climb, which is the combination of Kruisberg and Hoton. So maybe they have a chance to get back to the front here.
So the Kruisberg and the Hoton, those two climbs kind of roll very closely in with each other, and then they have a little bit of time, but not long, until they hit the Oude Kwaremond, the longer cobbled tough climb, and then a little short run until they get to the Paterberg, and then that 13 kilometres into the finish. So there you see one of the VIP setups for the day. It's amazing how much infrastructure goes into servicing the fans and the VIPs out there today. There's a lot of really big building constructions for the fans. And on the attack now, it's Lisa Klein of Canyon SRAM.
more cobbles, which is 200 meters of cobbles. So this seems to be the tactic for the Canyon SRAM team. We just saw that attack by Tiffany Cromwell, and now former German champion Lisa Klein is going to try. Who could be their designated rider today?
I think it might be, well, we've got Kasia Nuadoma in there, but Elena Cecchini, she's actually the partner of Alla Viviani, who's a very exciting track cyclist, and she would have taken a lot of confidence from having the advantage of a pro-male cyclist guiding her along the way, and her confidence is building. She showed a lot of talent a few years ago, and then she won the individual time trial for Italy last year at the National Championships, and I think her confidence is building. So I think Elena Cecchini, and also, I mean, Tiffany's done her job already, and Kasia Nuadoma, an exciting rider for Canyon SRAM as well, who's no doubt going to be there in the finale.
And what about Alexis Ryan? Of course, she has a good sprint on her as well.
Yeah, I think she might be used as a domestique, as we've already seen Tiffany Cromwell being used up. There's Lisa Brenois for W&T back, so she had a little crash touchdown earlier, and now back in the peloton. A rider we haven't spoke about much at the front, Christine Majuris on domestique role for Boels Dolmans.
Worth her weight in gold.
Absolutely, a massive, valuable rider to the Boels Dolmans team. And now we see Marianne Vos for the first time at the front of the peloton in that orange jersey, CCC. She's got the World Championship stripes on her sleeve. She's already won the Tour of Flanders and would love to make it too.
It's her main goal this spring season. She comes up the back of a fantastic cyclocross season in which she won some World Cups.
We can see she's still got quite a few teammates in the peloton there, which is interesting for the CC Live team, because they've got those two names in Marianne Vos and Ashley Moolman-Passio, and then they've got some younger riders, but they're doing very well. And they've done a lot of recon on this course. They know it very well.
Yeah, 3 Dutch riders here in the same peloton as Marianne Vos. Rianne Marcus, Evie Kuipers, Sjane Korvaart. And let's see if we spot that South African jersey, if she's back after that little mechanical. Do you see Ashley Moolman?
I see Kirsten Wild there for WNT, number 61, and also Marta Bastinelli. So they're your two sprinters that we're wondering if they'll make it to the finish. Marta Bastinelli in top form, and if Kirsten Wild gets to the finish, she's won the last 2 World Tour races. That would be very interesting.
Royal Sprint. Let's hope now the pace is down just a little bit, that Ashley Moolman manages to come back. She will be of great importance to Marianne Vos in the final. Also, Marta Cavalli is there. She is the Italian champion. She's currently 3rd in the UCI Women's World Tour Young Rider ranking. Really having a breakthrough season at the moment, Marta Cavalli. This is Roxanne Kneteman. This is going to be her last Tour of Flanders. She's going to retire after this year, the daughter of former world champion Gerry Kneteman.
Well, Chloe Hosking from LA Cipollini is still in the peloton. She was very worried about the Tayenberg, and she successfully got over that and now getting comfortable again in the peloton. No doubt she'll move to the front before the next climb of the Kreuzberg, and it's Christine Majuris on the front of Luxembourg with the national champions jersey of Luxembourg, just leading out her Boels Dolmans teammates.
I think Christine Majuris is now at a grand total of 25 Luxembourg titles across the time trial, road race, and of course cyclocross. A lovely rider, like I said, worth her weight in gold, always very approachable, like most of the women's peloton, by the way. So if you want to go watch a women's race, the buses are not locked up. You can just chat with the riders, ask for autographs, ask for pictures. That's the great thing about women's racing. And the thing at Boels Dolmans is that nobody seems to have a regular Boels Dolmans jersey anymore. It's national champions, world champions everywhere.
And it's a very, very tricky situation for the clothing manufacturers when you have a team of, say, 15 riders and you have 10 of them wearing national champs jerseys. That just means a lot more work for the manufacturers getting all of the national championships made. And in Europe, they have the national championships in June, which is a tricky thing, because after the national championships, they generally only have a few days until the Giro d'Italia starts, and the manufacturers are going crazy, changing all of the national champions jerseys. So as women's cycling is getting more professional now, they are preparing in advance just in case the national champions change.
A little bit of an increase in pace by Ruth Winder here, followed by, is it Gracie Elfin?
Yeah, Gracie Alvin doing a great job in the domestique role today, which is interesting given that she's been second at the Tour of Flanders in the past, but such a strong team with Annemiek van Vleuten and Amanda Spratt.
Like a little breakaway starting to here with Evie Kuipers for the CCC Lift team, Amanda Sprett for Mitchelton Scott, Ruth Winder. We see the Norwegian champion as well for the high-tech team. Well, speaking about the world champion, of course, we haven't talked about her just yet. She is the winner of last year's Tour of Flanders, Anna van der Breggen, but she's been doing other stuff. She's been racing the Cape Epic in South Africa on the mountain bike, won it as well with Annika Langvat. And she's coming back for the Ardennes Classics, which she won also, of course, Flèche Wallonne, Liège-Bastogne-Liège. So she's having a little bit of a different approach to the season, Anna van der Breggen. And she was, it was with a sad heart, she said, that she's missing out on Tour de Flanders, but she has to make her choices, of course, for her program.
She's won so many big races, you know, with Tour of Flanders already having won that. She's got a big season ahead of her, and 2 years ago winning the triple at Amstel Gold, Flèche Wallonne and Liège-Bastogne-Liège. She'll want to go back there in the Ardennes Classics and have a really good run at it again. So, but it's tough. It's, you know, the atmosphere here. She'll be watching it very closely on TV after a training today, no doubt. But she is in top form because she won the Cape Epic along with Annika Langveld. So she's in good form. But to make that call to sit out today, a tough one, but bigger things for her ahead this season.
I'm still trying to spot if Ashley Moolman managed to come back. We've still got a very big group where the group that was chasing after the Timeberg has managed to come back. Some riders from WNC WorldTour as well. Sanet Esteban, the former Spanish national champion. She is fortunately back. She was on the deck. She crashed a little while ago, but she's back on this group. So, like I said, we got a little bit of a lull going on before we hit the last 3 climbs of the day, or basically it's 4. Kluisberg-Roton, which are usually called as 1 climb, but they are 2. And then Quaremont, Paterberg, and then we've got a 13k stretch to the finish line where still everything can happen. So far, it's been an interesting race with increases in pace and then some waiting. Unfortunately, some crashes taking out the American champion Corin Rivera, among others. But there's still everything to play for. I said very early on today, Rochelle, that Amy Pieters was my favorite to win this. Last week I had 1 point with Kirsten Wild, so are you going to score the equaliser today with your pick?
Well, I haven't actually made a call for today. I'd love to see Amanda Spratt take the victory, but it'll be a question of whether she's supporting Annemiek van Vleuten today or not. That's the big question. But you can't really go past Marta Bastianelli too. She's the only thing that I would doubt is that she's been on really top form since Strade Bianchi, where she finished 4th, which is incredible for somebody who's more known as a sprinter. If she could get to the finish, she's hungry for today. She's got the team boss and Bjorn Rees here watching. And Marianne Vos would be one of my favourites as well. I just love to see her win. She's got the experience and the knowledge. She's got everything. She's got the form.
But I need one name to get you equal with me.
It's a hard call because numbers do play a big game, and we don't know yet if Ashley Moolman's back in the peloton. But
I still don't see that magnificent South African jersey, so I'm a bit fearful that she's not.
Well, I'll go with Marianne Vos. It's
always the sympathy pick and fantastic winner to have.
Exactly. It's emotional. It's emotional. And there's riders like, I mean, Chantal Black is still in there looking quite comfortable. She has the support of Amy Pieters. Lotte Kopecky sitting comfortable in there as well. There's so many riders that could potentially win this race, and that's why it's so exciting. Now, Trek Segafredo are always looking very good together. They've got some clear motives today. We haven't seen Ellen van Dijk too much at the front, so she'll definitely be a rider we see launch an attack.
But like she did on Wednesday, of course, in Dwars door Vlaanderen, one of those Flanders Classics races as well that you could see on the live stream on Facebook. And she went out 16k to go, full time trial mode, and won that race in magnificent fashion, Ellen van Dijk. So we've got a group, if I count it quickly, I think we're down to about 40-50 riders. When the sun is still fighting to get out, it's still a little bit clouded here, but thankfully it's dry. There was some rain last night, but we have a dry Flanders today. There's hardly any wind. If we look at the wind here, Rochelle, in the finish straight, is it going to be any factor to be reckoned with?
No, and I think I actually rode down the finish straight in the Sportive Cyclo that they had yesterday, which was amazing. 17,000 people out riding on the Flanders course organised by Flanders Classics. It's one of the best days of the year for cyclists who are not at a professional level, just to get out there and get amongst it and ride these climbs that the professionals ride. We had a headwind on the 13-kilometre run into the finish, and I was thinking this is going to be great for sprinters to get back in. But today the wind's really dropped off. There's not a breath of wind out there, so I don't think the wind in the finish is going to make a really big difference. I think it's going to be down to the legs after they get over the Oude Kwaremont and the Paterberg. And that's where it's all going to light up, and that's what these riders have been waiting for. And as we've always said, strength in numbers is what's going to help today.
Paul Stolmans have got a plan here. Majeres is back at the front. She was all the way at the She was all the way at the back, a few kilometers back, but this shows the value of the Luxembourg champion. She's followed by Kopecky, then Blaak, and then the other rider from Lotto Soudal might be Demi de Jong. Let's see if we can catch a number. Another interesting rider from the Belgian team is Julie van der Velde. She's a former athlete going on the 800, 1500 meters races. And that's the way they try to move forward now in Belgium, trying to pick athletes from other sports, other endurance sports, and get them into cycling. And Julie van der Velde is a prime pick. She's had some good results. She's a good climber. So maybe she can be of value to Lotte Kopecky. She's got many teammates still this part of the race, Lotte Kopecky. 2 years ago she was 5th in this race. So that's good for the Belgian Lotto Soudal team.
I was out on the course talking to one of the mechanics of Lotte Kopecky a couple of days ago, and he said the toughest thing for her is that she doesn't have a lot of strong teammates that can be there in the final. But from the look on her face, Lotte Kopecky is riding very comfortable today, so she's obviously got herself into condition. But she's a rider that will know every inch of these roads. To live here makes such a difference, just knowing where the rights and lefts come, where the top of the climbs are, which side of the road to be on, whether the cobbles are the roughest or the smoothest. So all of that kind of thing, that kind of knowledge really helps. And I think that's where Marianne Vos has a little bit of an edge. She has the condition of anyone else in the race, but she also has the technical skills. And talking of technical skills, we haven't mentioned too much Lucinda Brand from Team Sunweb.
I love it when you make that connection between technical skills and
Lucinda Brand.
You know I love her, and you know I love how she handles her bike, especially when it comes to cornering. Yeah, Lucinda Brand, she didn't have the best of results so far, but her third place, her podium place in Dwars door Vlaanderen on Wednesday did give her some confidence, I think. And confidence is very important. If you look back at your story about Lotte Kopecky, she seems to have come of age now, that she had these results. She has been top 5 in 3 out of 5 World Tour races so far, and that does something to a rider. And I think to Lucinda Brand it might be an important third place that she got on Wednesday.
Absolutely. Coming into Tour of Flanders, if you have that result and it builds your confidence, you really need confidence in a race like this. We just saw that super domestique of Christine Majeres. She's finished her role for Paul Stolmans today. Now it's Sarah Roy of Mitchelton Scott using up every last little bit of energy she has to put her riders Amanda Spratt and Annemiek van Vleuten in a good position coming into the finale. Still 29 kilometres to go, but 2 very significant climbs for these riders to get past first.
Coming up in 1.5 kilometer is Kruisberg, and it's 2,500 meters. Averages 5% and peaks at 9%. And you can see what Sarah Roy is doing here for her team captain, Annemiek van Vleuten. She tries to set the pace to make sure that the team are at the front when we come to that climb. I don't think it's the climb where Annemiek van Vleuten should try her attack. I think she should wait for Paterberg if she has the time to wait. But what Sarah Roy is doing here is very strong.
Well, I think that's what Mitchelton Scott are going to do. They're using up their strength now. It'll be Annemiek van Vleuten will go on a massive attack. Amanda Spratt will cover some wheels. And now it's Trek Segafredo moving to the front. Great ride by the American Ruth Winder. She's been a very instrumental part of the team today, trying to set things up for Elisa Longo-Borghini and Ellen van Dijk.
Of course, she had a wonderful Giro last year, Ruth Winder. She even got to wear the pink jersey. She made her move to Trek Segafredo in showing that she has been that she is a great addition to that new women's team. Look how relaxed Cicely Uttrup-Ludwig is looking there with Marianne Vos, Kasia Niewedoma, Chantal Blaak, Amy Pieters, Elisa Longo Borghini, Lucinda Brandt, like you said. And is that Lisa Brennauer? Yes, it's Lisa Brennauer.
I think I can make my call now, Jose, after seeing the
You say Vos.
the look of Vos.
I say Vos. I say Vos.
She's on a mission today. She's got herself into condition. She's talked more about trying to win this Tour of Flanders than she has any other race I've known in her career in the last couple of weeks. So that makes me feel that she has done everything in her preparation. There's Chloe Hosking just struggling now over the Kruisberg.
And if you look at the difference between Lucinda Brandt and Marianne Vos, who both had a great cyclocross season, Lucinda Brandt seems to struggle with the move to the road, while Marianne Vos has really thrived off the back of that cyclocross season. So two riders with this similar schedule, similar program of racing, and two very different results. So that's very interesting to see. And of course, the cyclocross riders are booming at the moment. Wout van Aert, Mathieu van der Poel with the men's, Tenek Stibar, of course, and also in the women's peloton with Marianne Vos, Lucinda Brandt. There is Mitchelton Scott again. Sarah Roy did her bit, and the next bit is being done by Amanda Spratt. So we're off to Kluisberg. This is one of those climbs where you think, yet again, hey, we're done with this climb. Let's get over it. And then we're not done. And another part comes.
Well, Amanda Spratt now taking to the front. Is she doing the job for Annemiek van Vleuten? As she said on her Twitter feed, heading to Belgium to support my teammates at Ronde van Vlaanderen, taking the pressure off herself as a leader. And this looks like she may be setting things up for Annemiek van Vleuten today. She's just applied a little bit of pressure there.
Oof. Some cobbles here, which makes the peloton nervous. Oh! Whoa, that was a horrible crash by the French champion, Aude Bianique. She just flew off the cobbles and just missed that car. Just narrowly missed that car, but thankfully she's back on her feet, the French champion from the Movistar team, Aude Bianique. But that was a terrible thing to watch. So this is the part between Kruisberg and Mouton, and this is the exact same part where last year Anna van der Breggen placed her attack. Jolien D'Hoore, of course, she has been off the bike for 3 weeks, so this is a little bit difficult for her. And also in this group, Rochelle, is Kirsten Wild. Dropped.
We had high hopes that maybe she could stay in there. She said she's feeling very tired at this point of the season after a long track season, winning her 2 World Championships on the track, already won 2 World Tour races. And look at Chantal Blaak, she's looking comfortable as well. She'll be the lead rider for Boels Dolmans.
Looks like an attack by Polish rider Kasia Niewedoma for Canyon Schramm. Well, this is an interesting part. Everybody knows, of course, that last year this was the part where Anna van der Breggen placed her attack, rode away, and nobody ever saw her again, except for on the podium after the race.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it, that the absence of one rider like Anna van der Breggen can change the whole dynamics of this race. So in the last couple of weeks, a lot of people have been talking about whether Anna van der Breggen would be racing or not, but there was an interview recently where someone said she never intended to race the Tour of Flanders this year. So it would have been a slightly different race had we have had Anna van der Breggen in the peloton.
This is the group with Kirsten Wild, and they're not waiting for her. Of course they're not waiting for her. This looks like to be the elite group with an attack by Niewedoma and Uttrup-Ludwig. Elisa Longo Borghini. Ooh, look how smooth Chantal Blaak covered that attack.
Chantal Blaak looks in very good condition. You can see Lisa Brennauer behind from WNT really fighting, but this is a strong attack by Kasia Niewedoma. Another one of the Canyon Schramm riders, like we said with Tiffany Cromwell, just amazing riders to watch. They just race. They race on instinct. They make it exciting. They get out there and get on the attack. And Kasia Niewedoma, we've seen her do it over and over. Now we see Ruth Winder, the American, just slipping off the back of the peloton. Her job's done for the day, but Elisa Longo Borghini not keen to carry that on. She's just going to pull over.
Van Vleuten and Vos, and Bastianelli tries to cover that attack. No, there was a first little test by Annemiek van Vleuten. She makes it look so incredibly simple. Marianne Vos saw that. Bastianelli saw it as well. Bastianelli, of course, still on fine form. They are not getting rid of her that easily on Quaremont and Paterberg.
Well, it's definitely going to be the ambition of riders like Annemiek van Vleuten and Marianne Vos to try and shake Marta Bastianelli, because she's super fast at the finish. She's in such good condition. And as we said, she has the motivation of having the Team Vos, Bjorn Rees in the team car watching today. So Marta Bastianelli, I mean, she wants this really bad as well. Can the likes of Marianne Vos and Annemiek van Vleuten drop a rider like Lotte Kopecky still in there, and Marta Bastianelli, very fast finishes.
This is Soraya Paladin, the Italian rider, who's been having a breakthrough year so far. Let's see if we can confirm that by numbers. Maybe it's her German teammate Romy Kasper. Oh, this is interesting. It is Lisa Klein, the Canyon Strand team, and there seems to be a little bit of doubt going on in the peloton at the moment. Who is going to cover this attack?
Well, interestingly, Ellen van Dijk is putting the pressure down. We thought that it might have been Elisa Longo-Borghini working for Ellen van Dijk, but in many of these cases, they use both of their riders just to cover things, and Gracie Elvin's made her way into that break as well, and a rider from Virtue, the team of Marta Bastianelli.
It might be Bertizzolo. Of course, she does not wear that yellow jersey anymore, or that blue jersey, as I should say. 25k to go. We've got good news for our American viewers. Corin Rivera has no fractures. She has had some x-rays in the hospital, but luckily for her, no fractures for the American champion, Corin Rivera. Marianne Vos, looking focused, looking relaxed, but of course she will be suffering as well.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of pain in the legs there. She's just gone right to the back of this group, taking some deep breaths. If she was feeling fantastic, we normally see her just cover moves like this and be always near the front. So a little bit of sign of fatigue, and it's got to play on their minds when they see riders like Marta Bastianelli and Lotte Kopecky just sitting comfortable, sprinters that are supposed to do it tough on the climbs. But, Mitchell and Scott are riding a fantastic race here. They really used Amanda Spratt to drive the pace on that climb. Sarah Roy, an amazing job as well. And now Gracie Elvin out there pushing the pace.
Yeah, great team tactics by Martin Vesbu, the sports director of the Australian Mitchelton Scott team. Some riders coming back to this attack. Lisa Brennauer looking very solid. Oof, coming back there. That was a near miss. The dangerous thing about these Belgian roads is there's this thing in the middle of the road where these concrete slabs are being glued together, and sometimes these gaps between these concrete slabs are pretty wide, and if you're not paying attention, if your front wheel or rear wheel gets stuck into it, you are doomed.
Yeah. A lot of the riders these days are riding 28mm tyres, so if you went back a few years they were still riding 23mm tyres, but now on the 28s they've got a little bit of a softer pressure. We don't see as many crashes as they're crossing over that join in the road, but we have seen in the past a lot of riders just come off crossing that little gap in the road. It looks like Marianne Vos may have jumped her way across to that move, and if so, there'll be some attention from that peloton to close that down pretty quickly.
Cannot let Marianne Vos go. Yeah, it's Marianne Vos. Great race, by the way, today by Team Hightech and by the Norwegian champion Vita Heine. She is 34 and she's riding a fantastic Tour of Flanders today.
Yeah, they call it the big small team, don't they? They classify themselves as a smaller team, but they do punch above their weight. As the other team of Marta Bastianelli, Virtue, a similar thing. They call themselves a smaller team, but with already leading the World Tour.
And 3 World Tour wins. One World Tour win with Bastianelli and a few other wins not on the World Tour. But it also makes sure that the level of the rest of the team gets bigger as well. If you've got 1-star rider or 2-star riders, the other riders are trying to keep up, and the overall atmosphere on the team is a champion atmosphere. So everybody gets lifted up.
Well, it's a little bit different dynamic in the peloton this year, because last couple of years we've just seen Boels Dolmans dominate every single race they go into. This year we've got some of the talent mixed out over a lot of new teams that have come up and smaller teams becoming stronger, so it's a little bit more open, and certainly the race today we could have a winner from any of these teams.
Great presence by the Sunweb team. Still 3 riders in this group with, of course, Lucinda Brandt and Floortje Mackay. Chantal Blaak, former world champion. She has crashed. You can see that on her elbow. She crashed with 2 of her teammates, Anneliek Diederiksen, the Danish champion, and Jip van der Bos, who had to abandon the race. But Blaak doesn't seem too bothered by that crash. Ellen van Dijk at the back of this group, just like the Swedish champion Emilia Fahlin. So this looks like a nice elite group, Rochelle.
Yeah, still a little bit bigger group than I would have expected at this point of the race. A few riders in there that, but in saying that, I don't think that the big hitters have really lit it up yet. There's just waiting now, I think, from the older Qualmont we're going to see some action. But all the big names we've been speaking about still there. Ellen van Dijk, Marta Bastianelli, Marianne Vos, Elisa Longo Borghini still in there as well.
A few former winners here in this group. Great to see Sophie de Vuist for the Park Hotel team there as well. Biggest team in numbers seems to be Sunweb at the moment. 3 riders there.
Well, interestingly, they do have such a strong team on paper, but not an outstanding favourite for the day. Chantal Black, 4 bowls Dolmans. Lisa Brenner is in top form riding for WNT. Here come Canyon Tram with Lisa Klein once again doing the job for Elena Cecchini. So the first rider there, Lisa Klein, she has the German national stripe on her sleeve, and just behind her the Italian national stripe of Elena Cecchini, representing a former victory in their national championships.
Yeah, these things are pretty helpful for us commentators.
Yeah, it makes them easy to spot. Amanda Spratt I always spot with the blue shoes, and she's one of the shortest riders in the peloton, riding for Mitchelton Scott. And
yeah, fantastic silver medal, of course, last year in Innsbruck, and of course a podium place as well in the Giro. Fantastic year for Amanda Spratt. She won the Bira, that horribly tough stage race in the Basque country. So she had a fantastic year, and maybe she can guide Annemiek van Vleuten to her second Flanders win here today.
Well, as I said earlier in the commentary, Jose, I would love to see Annemiek van Vleuten really laid on the line to set up Amanda Spratt for this Tour of Flanders today, because Amanda Spratt's worked so hard the last couple of years for Annemiek van Vleuten, a little bit in her shadow, but doing the brunt work for the Dutch rider in an Australian team. I would just love to see Annemiek van Vleuten really laid on the line for Amanda Spratt today. But we're yet to see. We've seen Amanda Spratt do a little bit of work. We haven't seen Annemiek van Vleuten driving it on the front. You can see Amanda Spratt moving Annemiek van Vleuten up to the front now. So that seems to be the role. And perhaps because Annemiek van Vleuten has won the Tour of Flanders before. But as I said, it'd be lovely to see Amanda Spratt have a lead role in the Tour of Flanders while she's on good form. You see a lot of tired legs now.
140 kilometers in, 148 if you count the neutral of this race as well. That is a big day out on the bike for many of these riders. At the back here, Julie van der Velde, the former track athlete, and Kelly van der Steen, her Belgian compatriot. They are struggling to catch on to this group where their team captain, Lotte Kopecky, is still part of the race. And the fact that we see the team cars following the lead group indicates that the gap is bigger than a minute usually.
Quite significant, so I don't think we'll see other pelotons come back now. This is going to be the winner from this group. And Canyon Tram, they are doing a fantastic job. Not one of the big favourites we put on the list, but Elena Cecchini definitely capable. She's in good form. The Italian sitting in third wheel there.
Yeah. She was fifth 4 years ago. Elena Cecchini finished top 5 twice in this Tour of Flanders, so maybe she can step it up a little bit and get onto that podium, or maybe even win this race. Who knows what is possible for the former Italian champion. But Canyon Tram are playing a great race, and they got their 3 riders here: Lisa Klein, Cecchini, Nievadoma, followed by Paladin for the Ale Cipollini. This is the lead towards the Kwaremond. Of course, one of the biggest VIP villages of the Tour of Flanders is always at the Kwaremond. And the Kwaremond is a pretty long climb, Rochelle. It's 2,200 meters. It peaks at 12%, but the hardest part comes when we get onto the cobbles.
Exactly. It's quite cruisy, just building into it. But the Olde Kwaremond, when you get onto those cobbles and you get into a steep section with cobbles, you have to really fight hard to keep the momentum. With tired legs, it's going to be a tough section, and we'll see who has a little bit of explosiveness. And I think that's why a rider like Annemiek van Vleuten, those riders that train over longer distances and have that age and experience, are really going to come into force in this race because of the longer distances.
There's still so many scenarios possible in this Tour of Flanders this year. It's been a very exciting edition, and still many potential winners in this group, including some former winners like Longo Borghini, Van Dijk, Annemiek van Vleuten, Marianne Vos, 4 former winners in this group. Of course, Marta Bastianelli is still part of this group and very, very dangerous on the finish line. So if Annemiek van Vleuten or Marianne Vos want to win this race, they have to attack on the Paterberg. And especially if you look at van Vleuten with her time trial skin, she is of course the world champion. She has to do that attack on the Paterberg and then go full time trial mode. And Rochelle, if I look outside towards these nice umbrellas at the VIP village at the finish line, I see that the wind is picking up a little bit.
Yeah, it is picking up a little bit. In the afternoon it tends to do that. I don't know if it's going to be significant enough, and as we can see, the leader is going to come from this group. Now the pressure goes down on the Olde Kwaremont. Now we'll really see who has the condition. Marta Bastianelli is right up there. She's using the right side of the road, which has a little bit smoother cobbles. It's a dangerous place to be because there's a lot of dirt. It's been a bit dry. We had some rain overnight, but not enough. I think the loose gravel on the right side of the road will be a challenge, but certainly where I choose to ride, because those cobbles in the middle of the road are quite aggressive. Now they're hitting one of the steeper parts of the climb.
Fantastic, fantastic job by young Sofia Bertizzolo, teammate of Marta Bastianelli at Virtue. She's leading the way here on the Kwaremont, and we see some riders struggling, like former Canadian champion Lea Kirchmann. What a fantastic job by Bertizzolo.
Well, Marianne Vos right there, and you can see it's Gracie Alvin that's guiding Annemiek van Vleuten over the Olde Kwaremont. Chantal Black still looks quite comfortable. Amy Peters there as well. Lucinda Brand.
Sophie de Vuist, Lotte Kopecky, Ellen van Dijk. It looks like Brodie Chapman is there as well for the Australian rider. And everybody is suffering here. Ruth Winder all the way at the back at the Kwaremont. And this is the great thing about Tour of Flanders. All these people are here. They're cheering on the women's peloton. It's quite a unique thing. And Marta Bastianelli is doing it again. She is displaying that she is incredibly strong. But why is Marta Bastianelli attacking on the Kwaremont? Why is she not waiting for her sprint? She's got 2 teammates in this group.
She could win from a group as big as it is right now, but she wants to break this down. She really wants to win, and she is showing how strong she actually is. Marianne Vos has been able to match that little surge. Elisa Longo Borghini just losing the wheel there, and Amy Peters as well with Ellen van Dijk. But Ellen van Dijk can shoot across to this. She's strong. She's got Lucinda Brand on her wheel. But Marta Bastianelli, she's come into this race in the form of her life. There she takes the right side of the road again on that smooth section. It's an incredible ride from Marta Bastianelli. And look at this atmosphere.
Marta Bastianelli is just like on the Camelberg, showing what she is worth. But I'm just thinking, why? Just wait for it. You're not going to do a 13-kilometer solo being Bastianelli to the finish line. It's suicide.
She just wants to tire the legs. She wants to dwindle down this bunch. She wants to come to the finish with a small group. Who can match her? Marianne Vos can, that's for sure. She's right there, and you can see behind Elena Cecchini just starting to struggle a bit. Annemiek van Vleuten also fighting the bike on the cobble.
Vos is good.
Marta Bastianelli, she is powerful. She's really hurting these riders. And now Gracie Alvin, she just wants to hang on there so she can get back to help Annemiek van Vleuten. A lot of Swedish flags there. Amelia Farland's still amongst the group here.
It's Cecily Ludwig leading here now. The Bigler rider on top of the Oude Kwaremont. And then we go straight on to the last climb of the day. Takes us another 4 to the gruesomely steep Paterberg. What an exciting race, Michelle.
Well, this is where it all happens. This one and the Paterberg.
And I just looked into Annemiek van Vleuten's face, and I have never seen a suffer face like that before.
Cecile Ludwig Jutrup, what a ride. She has to use the hills to her advantage. A pure climber, and she's really shot off the front there, applying some pressure, but Marta Bastianelli just staying in her groove. So these are the riders. Chantal Black, that's a surprise, so she's obviously not firing on all cylinders today. Also Elisa Longo Borghini just lost the wheel there as well, so this won't be good for their confidence coming into the final climb of the Paterberg. Once they get over the crest of this, they've still got a little bit of cobbles and downhill on smooth road. And Cecile Ludwig Jutrup, she's not going to stay away from that group, but she'll try. She's a real racer and she just fights, and you'll see the pain on her face. But the 3 riders behind will know they need to close this gap.
Look out for the motorbike, and of course there's a little bit of climbing in between the climbs. The group led by Annemiek van Vleuten. I think it's Nieva Doma and Bastianelli, and then of course Marianne Vos with Chantal Blaak in a second group. But this Cecily Ludwig, she's giving her all. And you might remember that interview that she gave after La Course last year. She was completely exhausted, but still smiling. She's one of the favourites of the crowds.
Absolutely a crowd favourite. She gives so much emotion in her interviews. It's just so honest. Annemiek van Vleuten straight over the top. She wants to keep applying the pressure. Elena Cecchini and Marta Bastianelli, they are your 4 strongest riders of today's race. Will the group behind them get them back? I think these 4 riders will want to push on a little bit, but they are absolutely exhausted. It's Annemiek van Vleuten. She knows this is where her race is going to be won and lost. She has to apply the pressure, and then she'll have another go on the Paterberg, but she can time trial as well, so she'll take her chances here. Elena Cecchini just behind her, Marta Bastianelli and Cecile Ludwig-Uttrup. So it's Marianne Vos.
Oh, flat tyre for Marianne Vos, and of course the peloton is scattered. There's groups everywhere, so her team car is going to be way behind. This is going to be the end of the chances for Marianne Vos to win this Tour of Flanders. What a shame for Marianne Vos. Mechanical, and she will not be in contention for today's win.
Absolutely devastating for Marianne Vos. She had the conditions. She wanted this race so bad and let down by a mechanical. That's going to be a hard one to swallow, that's for sure. But this is looking good for Marta Bastianelli, because the only rider with potential to drop her on the Paterberg would be Annemiek van Vleuten, but Bastianelli is looking just too strong today.
It's 3 climbers and 1 sprinter. 3 people who have finished top 10 in the Giro and have even won the Giro, like Annemiek van Vleuten have, and Marta Bastianelli. So this is an ideal situation for the Italian rider Marta Bastianelli. This is a chasing group with Ellen van Dijk pacing this group, and if Marianne Vos could pick up a wheel, she could potentially benefit from the work Ellen van Dijk is putting in here for Elisa Longo-Borghini, but her team car was way behind. So this really dampens the mood for the CCC Live team, because this is where Marianne Vos is at the moment, I think.
There's only a few kilometres between the Oude Kwaremont and the Paterberg. I think this is Lotte Kopecky with a puncher as well.
Oh, this is devastating for the Belgian crowds. Lotte Kopecky seems to have a mechanical. Yeah, she has a mechanical.
She knows it's all over. The cars just aren't close enough to do a quick service. This is absolutely devastating for Lotte Kopecky. She pulls over, but that might be the end, I think, for Lotte Kopecky.
And she looked so incredibly smooth. And even the team, the Lotto Soudal team, had strength in numbers. They even had some riders in the first group. So this all plays into the hands of Marta Bastianelli. Is she's going to take the biggest victory of her career? She was in the top 10 twice before in Flanders. And if you look at her statistics, you would not give a big chance to Marta Bastianelli today, but given her form in recent years, and even if you look at Strade Bianche, where the hills are steep as well, I do not think that Annemiek van Vleuten will get rid of Marta Bastianelli on the Paterberg. It's too short to get rid of Marta Bastianelli.
I'm in agreement with you there, Jose. I think this race is all for Marta Bastianelli now. Annemiek van Vleuten will do everything she can to drop these riders on the Paterberg, but Marta Bastianelli is on a mission today.
She is ridiculously strong today. And these other riders, Niewiadoma, Uttrup, Ludwig and Van Vleuten, they are not sprinters. And of course, a sprint is not a sprint after 160 kilometers. But Marta Bastianelli is ridiculously strong. But look, that group is not too far behind, led by Chantal Blaak.
Well, they'll definitely be doing everything they possibly can back in the peloton there, or the small chasing group, to get back. But Annemiek van Vleuten now, she's really hurting Marta Bastianelli. Bastianelli knows she has to dig so deep. Cecile Ludwig-Uttrup, she is a climber, so she may get over the Paterberg at the front, but will she be able to hold on 13 kilometres to the finish? These 3 riders, will they stay away to the finish? Here comes...
No, they're back. They're coming back. And of course, this camera position is a little bit distorting. But they are coming back with Chantal Blaak. Amy Peters is in this group. She might match Marta Bastianelli a little bit. And of course, we see Lisa Klein in the 13K flat. Because, Rochelle, it's a flat run into the finish line. There's still everything possible.
The Kenyan SRAM rider may have been Kazi Nyuadoma. We're calling her Zelena Cecchini. So We'll have to get a closer look there. But
It's near Badoma. It's near Badoma.
Nieuwe is now in trouble, and they've just crested the Paterberg, the 3 leaders. So will they stay away on the 13-kilometre run into the finish of this year's Tour of Flanders? Kasia Nieuwe will be devastated to have lost that wheel, but the strength here of Chantal Black and Ellen van Dijk, they are 2 riders that could time trial their way back to that lead group.
Sofia Bertizzolo is the Italian rider from the Virtue team, so that's going to be a very important teammate to Marta Bastianelli. What an impressive season so far for her, the young Italian. Another young Italian just following wheels there is the Ale Cipollini rider, Soraya Paladin. Very, very fast descent, which is, of course, great for the skills of Marta Bastianelli and Annemiek van Vleuten. And you see that Cecile Ludwig has a little bit more trouble taking those corners, a little bit less courageous, maybe.
Yeah, I think she'll play it a little bit safe here. It would be her dream to be on the podium. We'll see a very emotional interview from... look at this group, these 3 that were away. I think they're going to stay away all the way to the finish. They've got every reason to work with each other. Annemiek van Vleuten won't want to take Marta Bastianelli to the finish, but if she doesn't work all the way to the line, she knows that it could be...
It's not over yet, Rochelle. It's not over yet. We've got Chantal Blaak and Ellen van Dijk in this group. Of course, Sofia Bertizzolo is Marta Bastianelli's teammate, and she's not going to help this chase any meter forward towards her team captain, Marta Bastianelli. She's going to sit on the wheel of Ellen van Dijk and Chantal Blaak, but there's still a lot to play. It's a 12-13 kilometer flat run into the finish here in sunny Oudenaarde. The wind has picked up a little bit. If you look at the wind direction, Rochelle, what would you call it? It looks to...
It's quite calm out there, I think. I don't think the wind is going to play a major factor in the finish of this race. These 3 riders will have all the interest in the world to continue.
Smooth riding by Marta Bastianelli. Of course, she outmaneuvered the Dutch national team in Glasgow last year. Strategically, not the best race the Dutch riders ever had, with playing their cards for Lorena Wiebes, who could not really finish it off, and Marianne Vos pipping for 2nd place. But Marta Bastianelli had a huge mental win there as well in her 2nd career after her comeback, because she has been suspended for a while for a positive doping test, and she has come back into the peloton and now has got the best years of her life. She has been top 10, like I said before, twice, but that was in 2007 and 2008. It looks like a century ago, but it was only 11 years. So that shows that Marta Bastianelli is back where she was before.
So
and it's her race to lose. It's her race to lose.
I don't think she's going to lose this race now. She will be booming with confidence. She knows her condition was good coming into this race, and the hard parts are done. She won't want to lose this race now. She will probably contribute with Annemiek van Vleuten and ride this to the finish. Just looking over her shoulder, an amazing athlete, because she won her world championship as a skinny little climber. She went away. She had that couple of years that she was suspended. Then she came back and she was not very, I don't think she was very prominent in the peloton, and then she went away and had a baby, and then she came back and she reinvented herself as a sprinter. But now as a sprinter, we see obviously this type of training that she's done. She's come back as a classics rider, and clearly in the last few weeks the strongest rider in the peloton.
28 seconds, 30 seconds for this group led by Chantal Blaak, Ellen van Dijk, Kasia Nieuwe and Sofia Bertizzolo. And like I said before, this young Italian rider back of this group is not going to work in this breakaway to catch the 3 leaders, because she has her team captain up here in the middle. At the lead is Cecily Uttrup Ludwig, like you have in Denmark. 2 names, one from dad and one from mum, but she usually goes by the name of Cecily. Annemiek van Vleuten, Marta Bastianelli, 2, well, let's say veteran riders, mid-30s, and 1 young up-and-coming rider. I think for Uttrup Ludwig it will be fantastic if she finishes in 3rd place. And Annemiek van Vleuten has to come up with a plan now to get rid of this Italian
which
rider.
Will be very, very difficult. But they've got a bigger concern, because with Ellen van Dijk and Chantal Blaak working together, they are much stronger than this 3 combination. The 2 of them swapping off turns is a very dangerous combination. So these 3 riders have to all give everything to keep those riders chasing
We cannot have a situation in which Bastianelli and Van Vleuten are going to look at each other and to see who is going to make the first move, because there are 4 riders here chasing, including a former world champion in the time trial and a former world champion in the road race. Ellen van Dijk, Chantal Blaak, and also Niewiadoma is now contributing to the chase. And Sofia Bertisolo is comfortably sitting on, as she should.
Well, it's 19-20 seconds with 9.8 kilometres to go, and the road opens up where the wind can play a part, and it is just picking up every now and then. So it'll be interesting that, like I said, the 3 out in front really need to keep working hard, because these chasers here, specifically Chantal Blaak and Ellen van Dijk, they won't stop. They will push 100% all the way to the finish.
And you know, Rochelle, after 150k of cobbles and bergs and everything, even the slightest bit of headwind can be a factor.
Well, Marta Bastianelli is the fastest sprinter of these 3. Annemiek van Vleuten.
Yeah, she tries it.
She'll try to do everything, but Marta Bastianelli is just too strong. Every attack that Van Vleuten puts out there, it's going to be Marta Bastianelli straight on the wheel. She's a powerful rider. She's a fast sprinter. And Bastianelli will not want Ellen van Dijk and Chantal Blaak to come back, because then it's a numbers game for her. She is faster than them in a sprint, but if those attacks go one after another, they come back, Bastianelli could find herself in a confusing position.
You saw that Marta Bastianelli was making that little hand gesture to indicate that Van Vleuten should take over. And well, Van Vleuten, she tried to take advantage of that little flyover, which is a little incline, and that's what she needs, because she's not going to get rid of Marta Bastianelli on the flat. And like we saw, she's not going to get rid of Marta Bastianelli on the little incline that we still have left. And these 3 riders, because I'm not counting Bertisolo in this chase, they're not getting any closer.
Well, I think that at some point, Martin Vesby, the director of Mitchelton Scott back in the team car, will have to say to Annemiek van Vleuten, look, the race has been won and lost already, just ride to the finish to land a podium. She could still try another couple of attacks, but something drastic would have to happen for Marta Bastianelli to let this one go. So Mitchelton Scott find themselves in a position where they need to decide, do they just race for a podium now? Because if Annemiek stops contributing and starts playing cat and mouse, then she could find herself off the podium. Cecile Utrup Ludwig, she will want to just ride this to get on the podium as well. So they've all got interest in contributing, but they've got strong riders chasing them down in Chantal Blaak and Ellen van Dijk.
Well, it is for sure that this is going to be the 9th top 10 for Annemiek van Vleuten in the Tour of Flanders. We're going to take you to the statistics. 10th win in 2011, 5th, 4th, 7th, 4th and 3rd. Well, she hasn't got a 2nd place yet, but it's not what she came here to do, to get 2nd.
No, she would have been dreaming of being that 3rd rider in history to have won 2 Ronde van Vlaanderens, and these are the riders chasing them down. Kasia Nieuwendomme contributing as well. You won't see the Virtue rider contribute to this with her leader, Marta Bastianelli, that we saw out in front wearing the European jersey, which is the white jersey. She also holds the leader's jersey of the Women's World Tour, which she's not wearing today. And she's got World Championship bands also on her sleeve.
A group with Sophie de Vuist, Amy Pieters, Soraya Paladin and 1 Canyon SRAM rider with number 53. That's Lisa Klein, the German rider. So that is the 3rd group in the race, and they are chasing now the Ellen van Dijk and Chantal Blaak group. They're trying to get closer. Looks like another fantastic top 10 place for Sophie de Vuist. And if you look it up on the internet, she had a gruesome accident. She got hit out on the bike by a truck, and well, she's back, and that is the biggest win of her career, she said in a recent interview. And she has no more stress racing after that accident, and it's a fantastic result also for the small Parkhotel Valkenburg team. But the winner seems to be in this group, and I see no other way than Marta Bastianelli winning this Tour of Flanders.
Well, it looks like all is playing in favour of Marta Bastianelli. She's come into the race with fine condition for the Virtue team. Carmen Small, the director, the big boss Bjorn Rees, owner of the team, in the team car today, gives that extra motivation, and Marta Bastianelli certainly hasn't cracked under pressure.
Well, I've never seen a suffer face on Annemiek van Vleuten before, but this is the day.
This is the day, and she knows she just has to ride as hard as she can to the finish just to be on the podium. And that would be difficult for a rider like Annemiek van Vleuten, having won so many races. She won't like just pedaling and pushing for a podium position, but that's the situation that she's in. There is no other option at the moment for Annemiek van Vleuten. And here's the chasing group, who seem to be losing time, so good cooperation from the team leaders.
Well, we got some nice atmosphere here at the finish line. Crowds are building up for the finish of the women's race in 6.2 kilometers. They will be here at the finish line in Oudenaarde.
Marta Bastianelli, she continues to look over her shoulder. She knows she needs to work hard, and even if she does empty the tank, she still has a better kick than the other two riders, so Marta Bastianelli will contribute. But as we said, she's looked to be the strongest rider in the peloton in the last couple of races, especially in Gent-Wevelgem, pushing the pace on the climbs.
But so she got boxed in the sprint in the Panne, and she couldn't ride her full potential sprint in Gent-Wevelgem last week. So maybe that's why she thinks, I'm just going to split this on the climbs, because I know that I'm one of the fastest and one of the strongest in this race. And the frustrating thing for this group, led by Chantal Blaak, Ellen van Dijk, is that they can see the riders, they can see the motorbikes chasing those three leaders, but they're not getting any closer.
5 kilometers to go for the leaders, Annemiek van Vleuten, Marta Bastianelli and Cecile Uttrup-Ludwig. And interestingly, Boels Dolmans, they still haven't won a World Tour race this year. Trek Segafredo, one of the big teams on the start list, also not looking to pick up a victory here at the 2019 Tour of Flanders.
Well, I can say that the GPS is accurate. We are at 27 seconds, even a little bit more. It's 29. So this is going to be a mission impossible for Chantal Blaak, Ellen van Dijk, Kasia Niewiadoma, Sofia Bertizzolo. Our winner is in the first group, and if Marta Bastianelli's bike stays at one piece, because Rochelle, to be quite frank, that's the only way she can lose this race. Annemiek van Vleuten has to come up with a plan, but she has no ground left. She has no hills left to attack Bastianelli.
Well, with just over 4 kilometers to go, this looks like a given for Marta Bastianelli. She will be excited, and then the race will be on for second between the two riders of Annemiek van Vleuten and Cecile Uttrup-Ludwig. That's a mouthful, that name, but
we just call her Sicily.
Sicily.
And you know, remember last year's La Course, where Annemiek van Vleuten seems to be beaten by Anna van der Breggen, but she came back in those 15 meters or 5 meters or 10 or whatever it was, back to the finish line to beat Anna van der Breggen. That is a possible scenario today, but the road into Oudenaarde here is flat as a pancake, so it's going to be incredibly difficult. But we're already calling Marta Bastianelli the winner of today's race, but we still got 4 kilometers left to race. So a race is not won unless you cross the finish line.
Well, I'm sure we're going to see some attacks and moves from the other two riders, because they won't want to just ride in with Marta Bastianelli, but she's proven to be so strong that my guess is, with the power that she has in her sprint, she can just jump onto the wheels. But as you said, it mainly comes down to the mechanics of her bike at this point in the race. We're going to see an Italian winner with 3.6 kilometers to go. It is Marta Bastianelli, Cecile Uttrup-Ludwig and Annemiek van Vleuten of Mitchelton Scott.
Marta Bastianelli is going to be, if she wins this race, the second Italian winner of the Tour of Flanders in 2015. Elisa Longo Borghini. And if you look at the Danish, Cecile Ludwig, she's going to be the first Danish winner if she wins it. And of course, Annemiek van Vleuten comes in a long line of Dutch winners. She herself won it in 2011, 2005 and 6, a Dutch winner in 2013, a Dutch winner in 2014, 2018. But she has one rider that she cannot beat. How frustrating is this for Annemiek van Vleuten?
Very frustrating after all the victories that she's had in her career, knowing that she's in a position where she can only race for a podium. Winning seems like a very hard task. Just a quick word to Cecile there as she passes by. They need to try and 1-2 Marta Bastianelli, but I think she's going to be too strong. Under 3 kilometers to go now for the chasing group.
If you look at the results of Marta Bastianelli this year, she won the Spar Omloop van het Hageland, a 1.1 race. She was 4th in Strade Bianchi, 3rd in de 8 van Westerveld, 1st of course in Tour of Drenthe, 7th in de Panne, 4th in Gent-Wevelgem, and 2nd last Wednesday when she won the sprint of the peloton that was chasing Ellen van Dijk. So she has had a magnificent run this year, and she hasn't finished outside of the top 10 this 2019 season.
Well, we can just see the two riders there putting pressure. Here goes Annemiek van Vleuten, but Marta Bastianelli, she has a powerful kick straight onto the wheel. We knew that was going to happen. Annemiek van Vleuten has to have a go, and maybe Cecile Ludwig Uttrup, she'll kick over the top if she can, but Marta Bastianelli, she is going to cover every single move here in the last 2 kilometres because she knows this is her chance to win Ronde van Vlaanderen. It is going to be an amazing victory, but they can't let the pressure off the pedals because they've got breathing down their necks. The strong riders of Ellen van Dijk and Chantal Blaak chasing them down, and is coming down the gap, 18 seconds with 1.9 kilometres to go.
They cannot go and watch each other and play a tactical game of cat and mouse because the gap is not that big anymore. Marta Bastianelli, she is a former world champion. She won the race in Stuttgart when she was only 20 years young, and she beat Marianne Vos and Giorgia Bronzini, and that was well, 12 years ago.
This is coming down very, very quickly. So Marta Bastianelli...
this is playing the tactical game, Rochelle, and this is something that they cannot do.
Well, Cecile Ludwig Uttrup, she's the one that has to put the pressure down because if they get caught, she won't end up on the podium. Annemiek van Vleuten also playing with a podium position here. Here comes Chantal Blaak and Ellen van Dijk. They are closing in very quickly. It looks like they're going to catch them. This is amazing. It's going to be a very, very close finish.
Well, maybe Sofia Bertizzolo is going to be the winner of this race. She hasn't done anything in this chase. She just set on in 4th wheel. And of course, well, they now know. They know that the others are coming. We're going into the kite of the last kilometer. And they know that the chasers are coming closer. Ellen van Dijk, Chantal Blaak, Kasia Niewiadoma, Sofia Bertizzolo. Cecilie Ludwig taking the lead. Marta Bastianelli in 2nd place. Annemiek van Vleuten in 3rd. Are they going to be caught or not? Give us a bit of a wide helicopter shot at the moment. We want to know what the gap is. Is there still a chance for Chantal Blaak to win this Tour of Flanders? Or is Marta Bastianelli just too strong? She goes to the lead of this group, 750 meters. What is the gap? It looks too big, Rochelle. It looks too big.
It looks too big, and Marta Bastianelli has been pressured to the front. Can she win after leading out the last 1 kilometre? This is the position that she had to be put in, but Annemiek van Vleuten definitely going to kick. Marta Bastianelli just leaves the pressure off the pedals for a second. Here goes Annemiek van Vleuten. Final, and I think Bastianelli's got this wrapped up. She's going to close that down. She is a handy sprinter. I think she's going to have this one, but a strong move from Annemiek van Vleuten.
Van Vleuten just tries to keep that pace, and Marta Bastianelli seems to have trouble closing the gap, but of course she has the advantage of being on the wheel. It's only a few hundred meters and she's got this wrapped up. Marta Bastianelli is going to be the 2nd Italian winner of this Tour of Flanders. She's got it. She's got it. Marta Bastianelli wins ahead of Annemiek van Vleuten, and Cecilie Uttrup Ludwig is 4th. Then Sofia Bertizzolo cheering, Ellen van Dijk, Kasia Niewiadoma and Chantal Blaak. We've got 7 riders in and an almost crash behind the finish line. But Marta Bastianelli, she could not lose this race, and she did not lose this race. This is the result of the Tour of Flanders 2019. Marta Bastianelli wins it for Team Virtue. Annemiek van Vleuten, Cecilie Uttrup Ludwig, Sofia Bertizzolo, Ellen van Dijk, Kasia Niewiadoma, Chantal Blaak, Lisa Brennauer, Lucinda Brandt and Amy Pieters rounds up the top 10 for today. An Italian winner, just like we had in 2015 with Elisa Longo Borghini, and of course she extends her lead in the Women's World Tour, having won this race. 200 points for her and her 2 closest rivals.
Op de Vlaamse wegen.